Hey guys, it's Mo from Marine Sit, and today we are talking about The Coldest Touch by Isabel Sterling. So this was the Fairyloot exclusive edition second book in the December box of 2021. I was very excited. It was my first Fairyloot books ever, and I really wanted to read the book. I really went into the book pretty blind. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I did base it off of from the authors of These Witches Don't Burn comes a paranormal romance for fans of Rachel Mead and Stephanie Meyer. I knew I liked Stephanie Meyer writing and Rachel Mead, so I was like, why not? Let's read the book. I don't need to know what it's about necessarily. Let's get into it. So if you guys want to know my rating, right off the back, I DNF'd it, but I probably would have rated it probably like a 3 stars. Let's get into it. Welcome to my book talk for The Coldest Touch by Isabel Sterling. This does have an exclusive cover, and I actually really like, this is the exclusive Fairyloot cover. It is nice. It has this cartoon-esque vibe, but I actually really like the original cover more. I looked it up at my library, and I actually like the original cover more. I just feel like it's more what I would wanted the cover to be, but it's neither here nor there. According to the back of the book, I'm reading the synopsis off the back of the book. Elsie is cursed. Every time she touches someone, she experiences how they will die, and when she predicts but is unable to prevent her brother's death, Elsie is desperate to escape her terrible gift. Then she makes Claire a vampire tasked with helping Claire master her rare powers and recruiting her to the Veil, a secret organization determined to protect the paranormal world at all costs. At first, Elsie is reluctant to work with a vampire, but when she predicts the teacher's imminent murder, she's determined to stop the violent death. As Elsie and Claire grow closer, Elsie begins to wonder, can she really trust someone tasked with securing her loyalty? Someone who could so easily kill her? Someone who might hold the key to unraveling her brother's mysterious death? I have lots of thoughts on this. I really wanted to do reviews of books I get in book boxes because I want to know, like, was this the box for me? Is this the book for me? Can I rely on this book box to provide me with regular books that I enjoy reading every single month? This was not for me. This is a YA box. I do like to read YA, so all of these books will be YA. So this will be from the point of view of YA, touch on YA themes, and so on and so forth. So let's start with things I liked about the book. I liked that it was a pretty easy read. I didn't really have to take notes on anything. I did tab stuff for reference for you guys, but it wasn't anything too hard to read. The world building was easy to understand. The characters were easy to understand. And the characters did indeed have depth to talk about their life situations. I found Elsie's relationship with her brother and the mourning of the loss of her brother to be very relatable to many consumers. I personally have never lost a sibling, so I wasn't able to relate to it, but I have lost a parent. Two different, very, very different things, but mourning has like this overall cloud, and everyone mourns differently, but I feel like the way they touched on mourning in this book and reacting to the death of a loved one very well. I think a lot of people who have lost a sibling or a really, 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 really close best friend that you might as well have just been born with would really relate to this book. This book was very diverse, but I feel like it was more tell than show in terms of diversity, and I wish it was more show than tell, which I think is overall how I feel about the book. The book was very tell, not show, and I would have preferred it to be more show than tell. I really feel like it has potential, but I also feel like it's not the book for me. Like, it definitely reads kind of like a contemporary novel because it has a magical world, but it's more like in present day pop culture. For example, they literally refer to Twilight in the book, which I found that was so funny. It was so Twilighty, but like I feel like that threw me out of the immersion because I was like, pop culture references, like it was just so interesting to me. It definitely had lots of parallels to Twilight. Like, I understand the blurb from fans of Rachel Mead and Stephanie Meyer. It definitely gave off the Rachel Mead vibe of like contemporary like real life magic systems in our modern day world, but I wasn't feeling that because I prefer it to be a magic system more dominated and more immersive than this magic system. Don't get me wrong, the magic system is cool. They have like the veil and like this whole society of like witches and vampires and death ones, but I needed more from the magic system for me. I just wanted more fantasy. It just wasn't giving me the fantasy I needed. But the main reason I actually DNF'd is because I just didn't feel like it had enough romance. I wanted the chemistry between Claire and Elsie. This is a sapphic romance. Ah, we love a good sapphic romance. I just wanted to be more dominant in the storytelling, and it wasn't, and it was definitely a side piece romance. And I got up to page like 200 and I was like, I need more. Like, I feel like they're still at those beginning stages, and there's only like 400 pages in the book. So I was like, you know what? They're still at what I consider to be a beginner romance stage. Let me just drop this book. So I did. I really wanted to become more romantic. I needed that Claire Elsie oomph more, and I just did not get it. There is more than one POV. It is from Claire and Elsie's point of view, which is pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. I love multiple point of views, so it's happy for me. It was slow paced for me though, and the stakes just weren't high enough. The stakes weren't high enough for me. I wasn't desperate to know what happened. I wasn't drawn to reading it for very long periods of time. Like, I read majority of this in 2 sittings, and I just didn't care. Like, I wasn't compelled to continue. I did love the opening. I literally put a sticky note saying I love the opening because the opening was just captivating. It captured me. It was unusual, so I enjoyed that. I feel like, ooh, I'm gonna get something new out of this book. But after the opening, it kind of just fell flat, and I kept waiting for it to get back to that point of like unusual, cool, super curiosity writing, but it just never did for me. Listen to the first, this is the first page. A girl made of stone and mask and broken glass sits alone at her desk in her apartment in a town far from home. The girl is used to being alone, used to wanting things she cannot have. A family, friends who care for her, more than the favors they request, love. But she doesn't have those things. Doesn't remember if she ever did. She's been lonely longer than she's been 17. And I just found that opening to be lovely, captivating. I wanted to know more about this, but after that I just felt like it just toppled over on itself. As far as characters go, I really did like Elsie as a character. Claire I enjoyed, but I feel like I didn't get enough of her. I feel like I needed more of her to have enjoyed her. But the book is mainly about Elsie, so I'm not putting it against anyone because it's an Elsie story. Like, this is her story. Claire is just like a side character in the book. She's kind of like a main character, but Elsie's the main character. She has the main character vibes. It's really about her life, and I enjoyed. We do have a diverse set of casts. As far as ethnicity and gender goes, we have a non-binary character as well, so I found that to be super cool. I feel like a lot of people will love that. There was something that really did bother me, but pretty much they didn't use bloodbaths as vampires, and I was just like, why wouldn't you use a blood bag? Like, that makes sense. And it didn't make sense in their magical world, and I was just like, what? That was just something random that I was just like, okay, interesting. I love the fact that they've referenced Twilight. I thought that was so cute, but it definitely threw me out of the world a few times. Or whenever they mention anything pop culture-esque. All the super modern day mentions just didn't do it for me. That's another reason I stopped reading the book. I feel like it wasn't the type of book for me, per se. I don't like pop culture mentioned in books typically because it just throws me out of the world. It just gets me, like, I want to be in a mythical fantastical universe. I don't want to be in the real world. It kind of sucks. Read to go to a new land, not to chill in my own. You know, you get it? I don't know. I DNF'd it at page 197. And yeah, I feel like I couldn't connect with the characters enough. But I feel like it just isn't the book for me. I feel like you would love this book if you are more into contemporary with some magic system thrown in. And I think this would be a good book for people who actually like contemporary. I don't like contemporary, so it wasn't a good book for me. And I do think the blurb is very accurate. Rachel Mead and Stephanie Meyer, paranormal romance fans. The romance was a side piece for me, but I'm very high class when it comes to story romances, so I agree with this for typical readers. For me, I don't agree with it. And it does read a lot like Rachel Mead. I did not remember exactly how Rachel Mead writing was, but after reading this, I actually do remember. So if you do like Rachel Mead and Stephanie Meyer a lot, you probably will really enjoy this book. But I remember liking Rachel Mead, but my biggest pet peeve with her is that it read very contemporary. But I didn't remember that since I read her, like, what, over 12 years ago? So, yeah. The Stephanie Meyer part, check. The Rachel Mead part, I didn't like the contemporary part of her writing. I liked the magical world part. And that's probably why I had to DNF this book. Since it was my first Fairyloot book to read as an inclusive edition, I was kind of disappointed. I wanted more out of it, but I do realize it's not the type of book for me. But I think a lot of YA readers will enjoy this book, especially if you like Rachel Mead and Stephanie Meyer. It wasn't for me. I wish it was, but it's not. I do plan on reading more books from my book boxes and letting you guys know how I feel about them. This is definitely a 3 for my personal rating, 2 for my Goodreads. This is not the type of book I personally want to read. Here's my Goodreads legend for scale, but I do my Goodreads rating harsher than my personal rating because I want to work in favor of the algorithm. Death drew them together. Life could tear them apart. So eventually I will be unhauling this book. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe I'll give it away to one of y'all. Maybe I'll give it to my library. Maybe I'll see if one of my friends want it, but it's not for me. It will not be remaining in my collection. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see reviews of future book boxes books, as well as current book boxes books that I'm going to get to relatively soon. And I'm here every Friday, so be sure to subscribe and join me every Friday for a new bookish video. Love y'all. Bye!